Alright, third cut. Got interrupted for both times. Alright, so I'm gonna do something different this time. So the first, I want to say 10 books are all rereads, and I decided to put them all in one spot, like all in one pile. And it's this one, so it starts with Cable and Deadpool and ends with Solo. The reason why I want to do that, separate the rereads from the from the first time reading them, first time reading, from the not rereads, is because I like to. I don't want. I guess it's kind of one of those things where, I like organizing it. So I'm not like, oh, this is a reread, this isn't. So they get confused, like, which one's reread, which one's not. And it's kind of like, even though I know you guys don't watch the whole video and you probably won't know either way. Maybe you will now. Because I kind of like, it was once one time when people were saying, oh yeah, that series is really good, I really liked it, you'll love it too. I'm like, yeah, I did. So much so that I'm rereading it. To be fair, Cable and Deadpool I'm rereading, I don't remember really liking it. I never really liked it. I'm rereading it just to read it for once and for all. Finish the entire series so I never have the inclination to read it again. Which, I mean, that's probably not gonna go so well, because this is a series that everyone seems to like, and I like Deadpool, I like Cable, I want to read more Cable. Having him team up with Deadpool is like the best thing ever. That should work. I don't know if it's Fabian Nicieza or what, but to be fair, I'm not the only one. There was someone else, and I wish I knew who it was. Probably a YouTube commenter of all things, probably, if anything. But they said that it's the same thing. The story is very convoluted, too much so for a Deadpool series. If you want to know what I like in Deadpool, Daniel Wave's run, which no one seems to like, and Jerry Duggan and Brian Poseh's run, which everyone seems to like. So at least I know I'm not just a bad, I don't have a bad taste for Deadpool, and of course the movies. Second one more than the first one, although I do need to rewatch them both at the same time. I watched the first one a long time ago, and the second one, when it recently came out. Anyways, Cable and Deadpool. Next up is Batgirl, Volume 1. The Gail Simone run I really loved, and I think this is going to be one of those times most. So this one I'm rereading because I forgot a lot what happened in it. And I want to, refresh my memory. I'll bet you any money that this is one of those exceptions where I'll remember everything, almost everything. Here, let's get some better lighting in here. And, I don't know why, I just say, it's better than I thought, but this is old. And then quite, go flat. But the reason why I like to reread series is because I remember them very fondly. I want to read them again, or give them a second chance, and lightly improve the lighting. For that right there. A Batgirl is one of those things. I think I'm gonna read it and be like, I remember this, I remember that. I could probably just stop reading this now because I remember everything that happened in it. There's gonna be no surprises. Because they're why the Last Man and Transmetropolitan, which I'll show right now, might as well. And Preacher. All three of these are rereads, and there's some things in Why the Last Man I was like, oh, I don't remember what happened in there. There was stuff from Preacher. I was like, oh, I don't remember that. How could I have kind of forgotten that? And it wasn't. And sometimes, let's say with Transmetropolitan, something would start happening, and I'm like, oh, I remember what happened here now. And I was right with actually. There was an issue, kind of one-shotty type dealy where Sorry, someone texted me. It was a one-shot type dealy where it starts, it's just you meet this one character, they don't show up in a series ever again. You can probably read that as your first Transmetropolitan book, and it was one of those things oh, I remember this issue, I remember this one. It's kind of like if you will, not a PSA, what do they call it? An afternoon special type of deal, they have a special, very special episode of blank, that kind of thing. Remember that one. I hope you guys know what I'm talking about, because I don't know too much away. Because it's kind of one of my one of those really disturbing but interesting issues, both literally and figuratively. And then Preacher, that was the first thing that how he got his powers. I forgot how he got his powers. Even my most recent read through. And then Why the Last Man, there was just certain things with Yorick's past and Hero's past and, a lot of the past, honestly. So rereading them, I'm like, oh, I remember this now. I remember this now. I'm surprised I didn't remember that. And some of them, yeah, I remember this now, but most of it's how did I forget that? And it's not even how did I forget that, but how did I not remember it in my most recent read-through. You know, like I had not jogged my memory, almost like I am reading it for the first time. So that's really the reason why, and that's again like with that, I feel like that's never gonna be the case for me. Next one up is Hellblazer. This is the reason why I'm rereading this, is to get to Garth Ennis's run and to give Jamie Delano's run a second chance. I'm really like with Fabian Nicieza's Deadpool and Cable. That's not my favorite Hellblazer by a long shot, and I feel like I'm kind of weird, if anything, for not liking that run. Like, how would you not like that run? Do you even call yourself a Hellblazer fan? I don't. I mean, I do like the run, but I haven't read enough of Hellblazer, I feel, to where I could say I'm a fan of Hellblazer. Because I've only read 3 runs. There's been like 50. So, you know. But hey, my library does not have all 28 volumes. I don't expect them to have all 28, but not even all 12. Like, at least the first 12. So we could get all of Garth Ennis' run, or when he came back, because he left for like a few volumes. I think Jim Delano came back, and then Garth Ennis came back again. It's like, here, I'm finished off my run for these 3 issues, or maybe it's just special 3 issues. I don't know, like celebration, whatever. Maybe it was when Steve Dillon died, so he wanted to commemorate him. That'd been sweet. That was the case. Guardians Volume 4, I think. Yes, Volume 4. And finally, Solo. And Guardians, I'm rereading because I forgot what happened in it. And Solo, I'm rereading because it's an anthology series like it did with Superman Red and Blue. And I'm just like, let's give it a second chance. Yeah, technically we'll have a Neo Gaming Fix. Because, spoilers, no Sandman Book 2. Or Volume 2, rather. I was really angry about that because I was like, yeah, Sandman, I'm really liking it now. Spoilers, I'm really liking it now. Whole new, and I didn't have it. I mean, the big turnaround. You know what sucks? They had that on freebies for the longest time. Do they still have it? I don't think they do. They had the, for whatever reason, Prime Reading had the second volume. Not the first, but the second volume of Sandman. I should have kept it. Man. They had the first volume. Man. I could have watched the TV show when everyone was talking about it, not 20 years after in Streaming Wars time. Elvis movie. Wanted to see this one. They had it. Yay. Probably watch that tonight. I'm in a movie watching mood. Bad Friends by Aniko. So there was this Korean comics. It's about to fall. Try to text on, put this all together. Double-handed it. Alright, so yeah, there's this Korean comics thing. It was a free comic book day, and they give you some previews of stories, and Bad Friends was one of them. The other one, which I swear to God, like the Deadpool one, it was in transit, then it went away, was Moms, and that was the most interesting one. It was about like these 2 moms, they both hate each other, and it's like a kind of a war thing. It's a lot less sitcom than making it sound. It was really interesting. I wanted to see what's going to happen, and they didn't have it. Apparently, even though it said the library has it, and I think I checked to make sure, and it's like, oh, okay, library has it. They should give it to me. I think it was more than 1, too. And it wasn't like 1, oh, yeah, we might have it, but we don't know if these guys are ILL friendly, meaning they just don't want to do it. Yeah. Kind of annoyed me because it would have been nice, like 2 books that I want to read for a long time, same kind of set, like same kind of like different type of comics like feel, because Korean comics technically manga, but not really. Then we got Constantine, the other Constantine, the DC Inc. version. Now it's by Kami Garcia. I like Kami Garcia's work. I just remembered I really, really enjoyed her Joker Harley Criminal Sanity, which was a more adult comic book. And then she did Raven, which was more of a teen book. This will probably be like a lot more like Raven, and you could technically say that can work, but I swear to God, if the whole thing is about gay Constantine realizing he's gay and dating these 2 women because it's a polyamorous relationship, and one of them's a trans woman, and it's all the book's about, I'm gonna drop like a sack of potatoes. Now that was just me, like, imagine if that's what the book is about, like word for word what it's about, and all you guys are like, okay, you have read this book before, there's no way I could have predicted that. Hey, That's how it is with these types of books. There's a reason why I like the kid versions more than young adult versions, which is unheard of for anything. That's like saying my favorite Batman is Golden Age Batman when it was super dated, or Silver Age Justice League is my favorite Justice League, and despite how dated and crappy it was, that's what it's like saying. They like the kids versions more than the young adult version. And because the kids version, I think they dial it down to dial it down to 0, because down and downward. Yeah, down. Yeah, dial up. Yeah, dial it down to 0 for their political junk. Because I know that kids aren't going to watch that and read that. And teens, I really, it's funny to me to think that it's mainly college students or kind of SJW, Twitter user people. I just thought it was, I don't know why I didn't think it was, regulated to a certain part of people. Certain, point of people. I can't even say, who, was the adults? I don't know. Was it young adults? I don't know. Was it teens? I don't know. Was it kids? I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you. Even though I would say I can't see it being college students. Maybe because I'm a former college student, I just finished this year, I don't know. And the fact that when I was in in-school college, it sounds so weird, not remote, I didn't find any of those kinds of people, or witness or hear about any of those kinds of people in my area. It was always, these people in Wisconsin, say, way far away from me. Probably not as far away from me as I think. Not even as far away from me. I don't know. The Haunted Mansion. The Joshua Williamson one, I got issue 1 of when I put it in the first time, because they had, Marvel did this weird thing. I don't know if it was for libraries only, like a very special edition for libraries, but they had issue 1 of a series. So let's say this issue was Spectacular Spider-Man, a 1-issue thing. They would have it hardbound, and it wouldn't be an official release of it. You can't buy it at a comic book store, but it'd be that issue. It'd be in a hardbound copy. So yeah, it must have been for libraries only. It was weird. And I had that for Haunted Mansion. And I knew that I had that because I accidentally put it out for Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur before. But I didn't say issue 1. I was like, hey, I thought 1 meant volume 1, not issue 1. And I got issue 1. I was like, man. And I read it and I really liked it. So, rereading that series. So I don't usually do this. I don't know why I did this with this series. I did like this series, but there's series I've liked a whole of a lot better than this one. And I have not done the last 2 volumes to the both at the same time thing, but I did that with Snot Girl. Major surprise of mine. Spoiler alert. I don't know why I said it like that. Spoiler alert. I really like this one. Because usually I don't talk about the books. I don't review them until after. I show the books I'm going to be reading and talk about the books I have read. Civil War, Marvel Universe. Always been to pick this one up. This was I might just read Civil War along with this one, but I read Civil War so many times. Oh, it's the Road to Civil War I was thinking about. Oh well. But anyways, so maybe what I'll do is I'll do this one, Road to, think about Civil War maybe? I don't know. I've read Civil War so many times, I think I know exactly what happened in it. I pretty much do, but it's always, like Last Man, things I forget, even in books I've just read earlier this year. I can't say that's the case though. Secret Adventures. This one got pretty good reviews. Never heard of it. Because there was so many Avengers books back then. I swear to God, there was 14 Avengers books going on at the same time, because Avengers was popular back then. Post 2012, Avengers was everywhere. Makes sense. That movie was the highlight of the MCU at that point, and that's what got me into the MCU. Princeless, book 2. The only kitty book I think I've had in forever. Gail Simone liked it. Not Bad Fraction liked it. Yeah, it's a really good series. It's not too kitty. I'll do a full review in a few seconds here. Wayward, book 6. See, with this one I had book 5 last time, so I could have gotten 5 and 6 at the same time. Really should start doing that. But yeah, excited to see the series go, even though I lost the plot a while back. I still liked it, it's still good. Archie. Oh, I just realized my headphones are broken. I had to wear I have Hunger Games headphones. They're both right here. So this pair, one of the earphones is it's that thing where it doesn't work anymore, but one ear works. I have to wear these guys now. And these guys are still good headphones, but I like my other ones better. The better surround sound. Maybe I'll steal the Bose from downstairs. Nah, I shouldn't do that. Archie by Nick Spencer. Even though I could. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, book 2. Yeah, that Archie, look at that artwork. That was the reason why I didn't pick this book up, even though I wanted to read an Nick Spencer book. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, book 2. Now, with book 1, it said 2020. This was when it came out, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And it was just a reprint. Because I know that Kyle Higgins didn't just start his run on Power Rangers. I knew that much for sure. And I knew barely anything else from lost a train of thought. Knew barely anything else from about Power Rangers that run, but that was the only thing I did know. Snapshot. This is a Andy Diggle one. I really liked his other crime series, so I'm like, let's pick that one. Not series. So let's pick up Snapshot. Yeah, the other one was Ratcatcher, which I'll see a review of pretty soon here. Rat Queens. It's funny. And they had book 2. I thought I could begin the soft cover, which I'm on soft cover. It says 3 and 4, and I got on soft cover book 2, which I already read. But book 2 hardcover was what I got, and I was glad I got that because, like I said, as Guardians of the Galaxy, Cullen Bunn. Always wanted to read this series, but never got down to it. Just mainly because of the fact that I wasn't. It was so long ago. It was when I was first reading Bendis's run on Guardians. It was so long ago that I wasn't a huge Cullen Bunn fan. Now that I am, I want to read almost anything Cullen Bunn. That's awful. Sonic Book 2 from the IDW. Because I've read image stuff from Cullen Bunn that everyone hates and I love. So I think I like anything the guy writes. Most everything. Unholy Grail I didn't like. And I didn't like what the last one I read from him was. I forget what it was. Oh, it was Shadow Man, which I think you'll get a review of. I don't think I talked about that one yet. Might have. But Sonic, this one I almost didn't have. It was I didn't have it in stock. It was out of stock, and it went in stock like a few days later, and I got it today. So it was like a nick of time. And I did end up watching Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I really liked it, despite all the cringy humor and the juvenile humor. I swear to God, that was dialed up to 11 in this one. Like, they were like, okay, we know this is for kids, let's just do all the juvenile humor we can do. We can get out and just do it all throughout the movie. But it was still a good movie, nevertheless. Looney Tunes DC. Why not? It was always what I wanted to read. I always heard it was just goofy and fun. I was like, alright. It's a bare minimum of what I expect from DC Looney Tunes, so let's check it out. And Comic Pop did a review on their all-time favorite author, Tom King, his story in this. I'm pretty sure it's in that one. His issue in there. Actually, I think that's where the cover comes from, that issue. Yeah, they love Tom King. And I understand the writing, but the guy himself, no. God, no. Like, you throw shade at Warren Ellis for things that are speculated, but then you don't throw shade at Tom King for things that he did that he actually admitted to. At least Warren Ellis, that's like, one of those things where there's two sides to that story. Let's just say that. There's no two sides to Tom King's story at all. There is two sides to Warren Ellis' story. Look up your boy Zach. Your boy Zach Warren Ellis. You should find a video on him. I'm pretty sure Perch did a good video on him. I don't think I watched that one. I remember your boy Zach did a very good overview of the whole controversy, and he actually shared his thoughts. It made sense when you think about it. Layla Starr, especially when you know who was accusing him of stuff. Layla Starr, main death of Layla Starr. One I wanted for a very long time. Almost bought it. Glad I didn't, because I would have. Because I might have been in the library when I get there. And finally, Uncanny X-Men by James Asmus. It's a weird one. I hope it's good because it's the only James Asmus one I had. James Asmus is that writer I know nothing of, but after Thief of Thieves, I was like, you know what? I want more of him. Let's see if he brings the table. Turn the stack is off. A little bit of silence. Alright. And the movie. Let's go there. Alright. Now let's move on to notes. Movie. So, this is, first two are movies. But this is the reading recommendations portion, which we're already, wow, 19 minutes in. Good. I don't think I was rushed at all. I was rushing at all. Not rushed in. Awakenings. A pretty good movie. Just without giving too much away, it does not have the best ending. Let's just say that. And kind of one of those movies that at the end, it's really like it kind of destroys you a bit. I gave a lot more away than I should have, but I didn't see what happened. So moving on, but I still liked it. It was a major surprise. They had no expectations. Like I said, had no expectations, but it could have been a lot worse. Like, it could have been one of those like schmaltzy, like fake kind of movies like Patch Adams. I could have gotten a Patch Adams, but I got an Awakenings, because both those came out around the same time in the 90s. But Out of Sight, I was really excited for, and it ended up disappointing me a bit. I still enjoyed it. I'm still glad I saw it, but I guess I thought it'd be a lot more like that first scene, and like a lot more like bank robbery scenes. That's like not shot uniquely, but like the way they go about things is very unique. I thought it'd be a lot more like that, but it's not. It's more about like more of a romance. Like, it's kind of a heist film. It is a heist film, I would say that, but I guess I was expecting more Baby Driver than romance, because that's a romance heist film. You know, guy falls in love with the girl. He wants to get out of the game for the girl, because I think that's what Out of Sight was too. But I think Out of Sight, he just didn't want to get out of the game, and then he finds out too late that he should have gotten out of the game. One of those kinds of movies. So it's like, you know, one of those types of things. But like, I keep saying, but I guess I thought it would be, again, more Baby Driver, and it was more just kind of, I don't know. I think I need to watch it again. I said it's so weird. I don't know. I guess I need to watch it again. Because I also forget a lot what happened in the movie, honestly. But it's like very. I probably just skipped over this one. Just said not enough to say about this movie. Moving on. But I said what I wanted to say. All right, so now it's on to Apocalyptic Girl, which is a major surprise. That was the one by Andrew McCullen, and that seems to be like a Andrew McCullen book no one likes. I liked it, so I think I'll love his Hellblazer, his Headlopper. I almost said Hellboy too, especially because I like Hellboy, and it's a lot. That's what's inspired by. Clearly, just looking at the artwork, but it's a sci-fi. It's like a sci-fi, lost my train of thought completely. Like, completely gone. Just not even like, oh, let's talk about this. It's a sci-fi, like, dystopian type book. And it is very been there, done that. But I never get tired of, dystopian type books. Except for, like, Divergent, Hunger Games type of stuff. But mainly Divergent, because I was like, okay, so maybe you can overdo a trope. Okay, cool. I never want to see that again, but then I kind of got back into the hype. I think it's because the ones I've read recently have been targeted towards slightly older audiences, or aren't just targeted towards one audience. Like, this is the only audience that's gonna like this, like young adults. That's it. Especially for Divergent. Hunger Games, anyone can watch, yeah, but it's very, you know, of its time too. Kind of dated a bit. But Apocalyptic Girl is very timeless, honestly. That's the best thing about it. And it's enjoyable. I would love to see this as an animated movie, honestly. And I think a lot. You know, what's kind of funny is that no one's gonna like it. And I think another thing I did point out on my last cut, that if this had come out in the 80s, everyone would have been made 50 videos on the most underrated 80s sci-fi comic you've never read. Like, I swear to you guys, I swear to God, like, a hand on a stack of Bibles, that if this book came out in the 80s, there would be 20 different videos from, like, the same channel, going, like, an hour-long video, 20 videos of that, just discussing how much, like, they really loved Apocalyptic Girl, and then when it came out, since it came out in the 80s, and how underrated it is, and how it changed them as a person, and how you should really read this. Like, it'd be a sci-fi version of The Dark Knight Returns, basically, is what I'm trying to say. If it came out in the 80s. But it came out, like, 2-3 years ago, so no one remembered it, because it's been there, done that. But again, they would have done that. And they would have been, and if it's an animated project, an animated movie, like, especially in the 2000s, animated, like, from Disney or, like, Warner Brothers, they made it PG-13, because there's a little blood in it. It's targeted towards, it's kind of a kiddie book, but there's a lot more violence in it, so I'd say like a PG-13. So they rated PG-13, obviously, and so if they could faithfully adapt it faithfully, then they would have said, "Oh my god, this movie is so underrated. You guys gotta see." Like, it been the next Titan AE. Again, hand on a stack of Bibles. That's what happened. But again, came out 2 years ago. It's been there, done that. We've seen this so many times before. 3.4 out of 5 on Goodreads, and that's the score that scares me away from books. Honestly, that means no one liked it. Next to nobody. Like a lot more negative reviews than positive. Should do this. Ratcatcher. Like I said before, this was a major surprise, and it was one of those books where, like with Apocalyptic Girl, it was an all-in-one book, and it felt like it was just one issue, not like 200 page book. It felt like it was like 50 pages, maybe 100, 75, I'd say, maybe in the middle, and that's how fast paced it was. And again, like with Apocalyptic Girl, it has been there, done that, but in the best way possible. Like, but you don't know what's gonna end. So you've seen a story before, but they bring enough flavor to it that you still like it. It's kind of like eating the same thing every day, but you add a different condiment to it. Like, you have a burger every day for lunch, but today you add relish and mustard instead of ketchup and relish, so it tastes different. You know, that's how Ratcatcher was to me. But it was like finding that perfect condiment for your burger, and I was like, that's good. I've had this before, but this time it was even better because it was different. At least brought something different. It was the ketchup and relish in the burger, or the mustard and relish at that point. But I don't like mustard, so I guess for me it'd be like adding onions and lettuce to it. And then having the condiments of relish and ketchup. Transmetropolitan is good. Now, see, for some rereads, like with Why the Last Man, I'll do a 2-for-1 deal here. Why the Last Man was up here when I first read it, and stayed up here with my second reread. Transmetropolitan was up here when I first read it, and now is more down here. Still good, and still like it, but again, it was something that I feel that I'm missing, that I maybe really like it the first time. I think it's because I really liked it the first time, and that's what it is. Like, the first time it was my first time reading it. It's like a first time for everything. You never forget your first time. But then you say that, but hey, Why Last Man, first time I read it, it's still up here. It's still the same height as, I liked it last time, so what changed? I don't know if it's because, like, I was kind of sick of that kind of book. With DMZ, it got really annoying, and I didn't want to read anything like DMZ. And I was reading Transmetropolitan at the same time. I don't know. And I like DMZ. Just got DMZ got too much. They could have made that a 72 issue run. And keep in mind, I didn't get close to finishing that 72 issues. They could have made that 72 run into 30 issues, and it would have been completely fine. You would not have missed a thing. And you still have your spin-off series, like spin-off issues. Like your let's transition over to this guy, because that's what the most previous volume did. It was like anthologies about all these different characters. Yeah, I don't know what it is about maybe that. I don't know, but there's still good issues in the series, and it was there was a little fan-made short that like a 5-minute short they did, and that made me really appreciate that that issue of. Well, that was always my favorite. It was I'll link it. I forget. It's not on the streets. It was on the ground, or like I think it was on the ground, something like that. I'm thinking DMZ's first volume. That was called, but it was the first volume. I think it was the 5th issue, I believe. It's when he meets the president for the first time, and they really chews him out, and then in the bathroom. There's that scene. For those you read the comic, that's my favorite so far. I think it always was. Hellblazer, Jim Delano. Again, Jim Delano's run. I'm like, eh. I mean, I feel like it'll get better. It's just my bad time. No, it won't. I feel like some of it is good and some of it is bad. And the bad stuff really almost outshines the good stuff. And the most recent issue that I read, it was the last issue of it was a Family Man last issue. And they do this thing where they explain every little thing that doesn't need any explaining towards. I would care less about it. The ley lines. Jamie Delano is obsessed with talking about the ley lines. As Comic Pop is into Tom King, going back to that. That's how obsessed he is over talking about ley lines. And I don't care. I don't care how the ley lines work. All I know about is they're really interesting. They get out of places, and they do this, and do that. Cool. don't even go into any further detail. Oh, you're gonna dedicate a whole issue to it and make 22 pages feel like 82 pages? Great. It's not an exaggeration either. It literally felt like it was a special issue. It's terrible. But everything, but when they're actually telling a story, it's good. You know, he knows how to keep you interested, invested in this whole story he's telling. But when he's exposition dumping, you're like, nope. This is why no one likes exposition dumps. Some can do it right, but he can't. I know sometimes you have to explain what's going on in your world. I know that, but sometimes you don't. And this is an exception. Y: The Last Man, again, like I said before, still stays up here, still good. Again, and I said about just previously, there's stuff I forgot about this about in Y: The Last Man. Wonder Woman by Gail Simone. Not by Gail Simone. Wonder Woman, but why did I think it was Gail Simone? That was so weird. Maybe I had background on mine. I don't know. By G. Willow Wilson. Take this from a guy who likes G. Willow Wilson's Ms. Marvel run. Like, actually likes, like, really likes her Ms. Marvel run. I hated her Wonder Woman run. There was nothing in this book that I liked. Nothing. There was nothing that was like, oh, that's a cool idea. Oh, that's a good character. Oh, that's an interesting story. No, nothing. Nothing in it. I forget everything that happened in it. There was this girl, and it was a thing with Veronica Cale where they found out, oh, is this person controlling her? Cool. I don't care. Like, you maybe not care about the Veronica Cale story, and that was the most interesting part of one of the most interesting parts of Greg Rucka's run that actually, like, you know, transitioned into the other runs, because some of it he did tie loose ends with. But that was the one thing that seemed to carry over into other runs, and it was really interesting. And G. Willow Wilson finds a way to make it not interesting. But yeah, that was terrible. I didn't like it at all. Nothing I liked about it. Batman Reptilian. No, so for some of these, again, speaking of comic pop, I do like the content. Just the whole Tom King thing, I will never agree with them on, but I still like the content, and I do like watching their videos that I have the comic up, Batman Reptilian, like I have in the library, and I like that because I'll read the book along with them. So they're like, this is what happens in this issue, and this is where the issue ends. Or sometimes I'll just know, okay, this is where that issue ends. So I stop watching now, read issue 2, and then vice versa, and I'll go along with it. So I'm reading the book with them, basically. Okay, my nephew's over. I thought that was my dad the first time. I'm doing an exaggerated yawn that every dad does. Batman Reptilian. So I was watching that along with them, and that was the only way I could tell what was going on in this comic. This comic has it's going so many different directions, brings so much to the table that, like, I don't know. And I feel like they didn't, and then it's just a me thing, because there wasn't a whole lot. There was a lot that happened, but, like, I feel like it was a lot more coherent than I'm making it sound to be. Making it out to sound like, you know what I mean. But when you read the story behind the book, it's a lot more interesting than the book itself, but it also makes the book a little bit more interesting once you have that context. And I wish I'd known the context before I'd read it, because none of these context spoils the book itself. It was basically saying how Garth Ennis always wanted to write this Batman book, always had this story in his mind, and he was going to have Steve Dillon do the artwork, but Steve Dillon unfortunately died, so he got Liam Sharp to do it years and years later when DC finally gave him the okay to do it, because it was too dark for Batman in general. So when Black Label came around, he's like, hey, do it for Black Label. And he originally wanted to do it for Legends of the Dark Knight, but without giving too much away, he couldn't. Because it was too dark for it. Without giving too much away, it was too dark for, let's just say it's too dark for Legends of the Dark Knight. But once you get that context, yeah, it's a little bit more interesting. I probably should reread it with that in mind, and I probably like a lot more. The artwork is the one thing I liked and didn't like, though. Too dark. It was way too dark. You couldn't see what was going on. Like, I understand it's a darker story, but you don't have to make the artwork illegible. But sometimes you could tell, like, as it went along, I feel like that artwork got a lot brighter. I don't know if that's because the hardcovers, because the first 3 issues I had myself, like I owned it, so I was reading my copy. Then when they got the hardcover for the last 3 issues, I had half it. Just realized that. The last 3 issues, I noticed the artwork was a bit different. It was still a little hard to see, but not too much. And Spikers the Trade made it brighter. Superman Red and Blue. So many books to talk about. I'm not even halfway, I feel. Superman Red and Blue. There was now. I would say to pick up this trade. If you, this should be your issue 5 should be of Superman Red and Blue. Should be everyone's Superman book. Like everyone should read this. If you're just getting into Superman, if you want to get into Superman, if you're a big, long time fan of Superman, Superman Red and Blue #5 is satisfying for all parties of Superman fans. Now, issue 1, the first story in issue 1, it's an anthology, so several stories per issue. Issue 1, first story by John Ridley, is the worst. Like, if this is my first John Ridley book, no exceptions, no, oh, maybe I will, no. It would be a complete no. I'm not reading anything from John Ridley ever again, if that was my first John Ridley book. But since I've read his American Way and I like his American Way, I will still give him some sort of a chance. But I don't think I'll ever pick up a John Ridley book ever again, because that was a bad, bad book. That was just disgusting and gross and just terrible. Like, not the worst, like, politics-wise, but it's the worst kind of, like, degrading type of story that just did not need to be told. I don't care. Did not need to be told at all. No reason to tell that story. It was absolutely deplorable. But every story after that was much better. Not just because it was much better than the worst story I've read from Superman, and it's not an exception. Stupid Instagram. Instagram is really good when it tells me, hey, this guy you follow, he uploaded something. Here's his next meme he's sharing from Unruly Simeon. But sometimes it's like, hey, did you know that you can friend more people? It's literally one of them. One of them's like, hey, check out the newest things on Instagram. In general. Not from this guy you're following. No, in general. They did that at 2 in the morning one time, and I was ready to delete the app forever. But anyways, going back to Superman. Yeah, after that was the worst one in the Superman story. Especially issue 1. Issue 1 was good. Issues 2, 3, and 4 were okay. Some were better than others. I liked some more than others. But issue 5 was a standout, and issue 6 was pretty good too. It was a nice last 2 issues to leave off on. I would recommend getting the trade of the hardcover. Maybe if your library has it. Your library's bound to have it by this point. If your library has request it from your library, honestly. Request your library have it, honestly, because they should have it. It's a popular character, popular book. Sure, and a kind of popular book. X-Men, the one that was after, or X-Men Volume 4, all different, or the X-Men one that was after the Battle of Atom, so Justice was super confused, even though he's read it the second time. Like, I don't know why I didn't notice the second, and again, I did notice the first time, because I always wanted to read Battle of the Atom, because that was a big crossover they do not have in my local library. They have only other crossovers, not this one. What was this? Because it was all X-Men? No one was picking up X-Men from the library, so they didn't want to get that one. I don't know, maybe they didn't know, honestly. But yeah, it was very confusing. I was like, wait, why what? And I thought at first it was because it had been a long time since I'd read Volume 3. And I was like, nah, it's been that long. And I was like, oh, well, maybe, I don't know. And then it was because Battle of the Atom happened. I was like, oh yeah, that's right too. The Battle of the Atom I haven't read yet. But later in the volume, they do kind of like piece all the loose ends together. Like, oh, okay, so that's what happened. Okay, I get it now. I can now read this story knowing everything that happened. Because they just throw you right into the aftermath of Battle of the Atom. You're like that guy, like that meme of that guy. He's like, I think he's holding a coat or something. He's like looking around. Like, he's like, I wish I could find it. Cause I feel like a stupid idiot. Just like, ugh. I'm trying to imitate it. But yeah, the X-Men one just let me completely confused the first few issues. Then once I got the context, it's like, oh, okay, cool, let's go. So I do like, let's go. I do like that X-Men run, which probably means I'll like any run of X-Men. Okay, I keep doing that thing where I'll scroll and I'll be like, okay, so we were at this one, so now do that one. But sometimes I have like this, where it's have them all there, and then when I get to that one, I have to go scroll up. So, a little confused right now. Okay, so, Journey into Mystery, I'm gonna get rid of them. Journey into Mystery, Volume 2 I liked a lot more than Volume 1. And Volume 2 has some crossovers with other Thor and, not X-Men, but Thor and, what was X-Men? New Mutants stories. Now I want to pick up New Mutants and the Mighty Thor Omnibus by Matt Fraction, and then New Mutants by Dan Abnett. That's how much I like those crossovers. Actually technically better than the Journey to Mystery issues in that crossover. But all in all, I really like Kieran Gillen's run, and this was Volume 2 was the best way of had everything in the run I liked and more for Kieran Gillen's Journey to Mystery. And yes, it was their reread. I think I liked it a lot better than I did the first time. The first time I didn't even finish Volume 1. And then give it a second chance, really liked it, because I grew up. And then I liked it a lot more. Guardians of the Galaxy, still good. I mean, not to say, I feel like it's one of those things that, we're just now getting into what the story is about. Like, the first 2 volumes were kind of setting up, and now we're actually getting into the story. I do like it. And what was kind of talked about this one was a lot of them were like, oh, here's this character's now in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Here's their appearance as this guy. Captain Marvel comes in, and you get her first Kelly Sue DeConnick book, which I've read, so I didn't have to read that. And Venom, here's his first Agent Venom book, and I read that, so it was like, oh, so I only get 3 issues of this series. Great. Because Guardians of the Galaxy is, I like more than his all-new X-Men for Brian Bendis' runs. Because they're both coming out at the same time. As you can tell, because of the Jean Grey crossover I had to read. Fantastic Four: The End is proof that not every book I reread is going to automatically be better than I remember it being. Because it's just as bad as I remember Fantastic Four: The End. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me. I liked Alan Davis's most recent Avengers Defenders book, the Tarot one. I've read that like so many times that if it was a book, it'd be worn out and have worn out pages at this point. Probably does in the comic, honestly. But that was good. I like that one. But then Fantastic Four, I didn't like. And I like Fantastic Four. So I think two ingredients. Alan Davis's Avengers Defenders. That's something that's starting to be good. And Fantastic Four, both things I like. Mix them together should have been made for an amazing meal. And I was just like, nope, I'm done. 24 panels. Didn't like it. Almost none of the stories were really all that interesting. I liked Kieran Gillen's, I guess. Now, none of them were about the tragedy itself, so that was kind of awkward. There was one by... Oh, I don't remember who it was by. But it was one of those authors that no one seems to like the people that I listen to anyways. On this side, not that side of comic bookdom. Of comic book reviewing, and when I read her story in the book, I was like, is this the one written by and I checked? Yep, it is. How could I know that? Oh yeah, that's why, because it's exactly what you expect from that person to write that book. And it was just like, wow. That was the only standout, really. All the others I forget about, honestly. I remember Dan Waters was the best one, but that was about it. Yeah, but the fall again. But, I'm so glad I read it just to get that last Dan Waters book from Image Comics. Just kind of weird because why does that matter? It's Not Girl, really enjoyable. It blew me out of the water. Now the thing that everyone seems to hate about this book is the main character. I think you're supposed to hate her. I think it's the same people that are hating on this character probably love Ironheart and probably love Moon Girl, and they think that the flaws are the flaws of the character and not the flaws that other people see in them, so to speak. And it's kind of like, okay, it's one of those things where I feel like they like this character for the same reasons they hate this character, kind of thing. Because I don't think you're supposed to like this character. I don't think you're supposed to be not supposed to be rooting for this character, but it's like a Scott Pilgrim type thing. It was also written by Brandon Lee O'Malley, who writes Squirrel Girl, who writes Not Girl. So I don't know. It was you wouldn't think a fashion comic would be good for people. I would like, and it's supposed to be for girls too. It's supposed to be definitely targeted towards girls. So when they like this book, I really liked it. I do like chick flicks. I like the age of 17 type ones, like coming of age ones, not Notebook and not 10 years. Those books, no. Those movies, no. But age of 17, 8th grade, Mean Girls, I could watch those at the end of time and still like them. And this is a lot like that. Wayward, again, I lost the plot, but I still like it. I think it's because I don't mind it. I've read so many books. There's so much going on. I lose the plot that I'm used to at this point, and I try to like, and it's something that I can actually ignore for the most part, so I can still enjoy it. Again, sad to see that series go. Autumn Lands. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is, but I don't like anything except for Marvel's. That Marvel's book we wrote a long time ago. There was nothing I liked that Kurt Busiek has written. Didn't like his Astro City. Didn't like Autumn Lands. Didn't like whatever, the Avengers Forever, issue 1 at least. There's nothing by Kurt Busiek I like except for Marvel's. Everything else I'm like, nope, sorry, no. And it's not like I have it on the same pedestal as do. It's like I have it on the same pedestal I had for his Marvels. No, if anything, I don't have any exceptions because I know that Kurt Busiek is not my favorite writer. I don't know what it is. The one thing I did notice is that he was trying to world build, and Monstrous did that a lot better than Autumn Lands did. I cannot wait to get that book that says Monstrouses. I'm gonna try and get them as soon as possible if I can, but if I probably can't. I should be able to if I wait long enough. But let me try to do it this most next comic call, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, Autumn Lands just ugh. If it was the first fantasy book I read, I would never like fantasy ever again. I'd never pick up another fantasy book ever again. Rat Queens. The total opposite of Autumn Lands. Just great fantasy, great humor. Honestly, I thought I get annoyed at the humor, and sometimes it is kind of bad. And sometimes it is kind of bad. Like it's gonna be like those to have those weird cringy jokes, but it's not too. It's like few and far between. And some of the jokes are pretty funny. Some of the jokes are good. It's very violent. It has everything in a fantasy book that I want, except for some of the cringy dialogue. But that's again so few and far between. If that's a turnoff for you guys, then that's kind of you're not gonna like any comic, honestly. That's anything like that. But it's not too obnoxious. It can get obnoxious. That's what I was expecting to get, but it didn't. It could get very obnoxious with that kind of humor. We Stand on Guard. It's probably my least favorite Brian K. Vaughan book, which is saying a lot because I like everything Brian K. Vaughan writes. I'm as much a fan of him as, again, Comic Pop is of Tom King. And this one was like, This was the Heroes in Crisis of Brian K. Vaughan stories for me, where I was like, I don't hate it, but it's just, I don't want to read it again. I think Heroes in Crisis is saying too much. Maybe it's Batman. Let's say it's Batman, because Heroes in Crisis no one likes. That's like a deplorable book. And it's Batman, just some people just don't like in general. And We Stand on Guard, it was kind of interesting, but I never really cared about the characters, never cared about anything. And it was just, like, it just kept my interest. It was fast-paced. That was about it. So for the most part. Sometimes it was slow and then I'll say interest. Daredevil? No. Dungeons Dragons. I did D, and didn't do D, ampersand, D, ampersand, why last man? Because ampersand is that little and symbol. And now whenever I think of ampersand, I'm not gonna think of that, I'm gonna think of the monkey. From Why Last, and then Why Last Man. Dungeons and Dragons. Pretty good. I like this one a lot more than the other one. The other one being the, one before. I thought I talked about this one before. I was saying, like, how, I still was losing I was still lost of what everyone was like. I was lost a plot, and I was like, I don't care, but I still like it, you know. It wasn't like a groundbreaker or anything like that. It was just because the last one I read, but it was it was drawn by Tess Fowler. It was a pretty big unknown name. I don't even know who wrote this one. It was an unknown name for who wrote it, but, yeah. I didn't like that one at all. I think it was Amy Garcia. No, I think Amy Garcia did this one I liked. I don't know. Whatever this one was, I liked it. A Darkened Wish, I believe, was the one I liked. I believe, or the one I didn't like. Whatever one is drawn by Tess Fowler, I didn't like that one. Did not like that one. Sonic. A pretty good one. I had no expectations going in. In fact, they're pretty low. I thought they'd just be stupid, and it was, like, I knew what it was. It was just, you know, zany, fast-paced humor. It's kind of like cartoon in comic book form, which I know that's what comic books are. But it's like a cartoon strip, like a newspaper strip inside a comic book. But it had some sort of plot, and it was connected together. It's good. Nothing else I can say about it. Power Rangers. There was something. Yeah, Charmin is next. I didn't talk about Chapman before. But Power Rangers, I think it's because I don't have any like prior like liking towards Power Rangers. I'm not like, oh, when I grew up I would like Power Rangers, so I had no like no passion for it. I was like, Power Rangers, yeah, whatever. And that's kind of how I felt about this book. I'm giving volume 2 a chance. If I don't like volume 2, I'll probably stop reading it. But it's still interesting enough to where you want to know what happens, I guess. But even then, I don't know. Maybe after I watch the 2017 movie, I'll like a lot. I'll appreciate it a lot more. I don't know. And I didn't hate it. It was just kind of. It wasn't I was disappointed with it. It was just I was kind of nonplussed with it. I was like, yeah, that was alright. Moving on. Shadow Man. Cullen Bunn. The proof that I did not like everything Cullen Bunn has written. And I really do think it's the Valiant curse for me. And the Valiant curse is that, except for that Tim Seeley, that one issue I read of Tim Seeley's Bloodshot, I don't like anything Valiant. And it does not, I repeat, does not matter who wrote the book. I still don't like it. Jeff Lemire did the crossover. It was called The Valiant. It was crossover with all the characters. Hated that one. The Shadow Man one, I liked it a little bit more than the Valiant one, but still, nah. I don't think I'll ever pick up a Valiant book. The only one I'll pick up will probably be Tim Seeley's Bloodshot, if that. Maybe Rye, but I'll always try and find that in the local library, along with Tim Seeley's Bloodshot. Flight. That was just like it was 200 pages, and it felt like 100 pages. Every story was just enthralling. Some weren't as good as others. There was like 2 stories I didn't like, but besides that, I like this book, and I can totally get why some people like consider like the flight to be such an interesting concept of like gravity and everything like that, to be such an interesting concept of science. Because those stories, even though they're not scientific stories, they're like actual stories of people. Each and every one was great, and I wish they had volume 2. They didn't. I don't know why. I thought they'd have volume 2. I swear to God I saw like at least they had 2 volumes of the series. They didn't. Just volume 1. Maybe they had volume 1 twice. I don't know. And then Princeless. Now this is one that that yes is for kids. You know, is very kid friendly. It's obviously targeted towards kids, but anyone can read it, you know, and still find enjoyment out of it. But it is obviously targeted towards kids. So it tries to push the envelope sometimes, and it does. It's like, wow, okay, you're allowed to say that in a PG movie. Well, not a PG movie. It's not a PG movie. In a G-rated PG comic. Wow, okay. It was interesting. I think it was 8 to 12 years. I don't think grade. I think it was years. Yeah, it had been years. It was enjoyable. I liked it. Pick it up if you get a chance. But at your local library. It's not one I would recommend you go out and seek all 11 volumes they have of it. I think it's like 6 volumes, I think. It's pricey after a while. If you want to go figure. If you want to go figure. If you want to do it, then by all means do it, but there's probably other books you can get instead. But that, as I say, is that. Oh, it was really weird. Still an hour long video. One side note, I did read the Skull Kickers one. It was weird that they had a Skull Kickers crossover, but Skull Kickers is targeted towards an older audience. At least I think it is. I could be wrong. I don't know. But that's it.